So there are a lot of different ways to model things in Cinema 4D. We can use primitives, we can use splines, we can start using deformers and things like that. I wanted to show another example, another workflow that uses a feature that came out in a few releases ago with Cinema 4D. So the thing I'm going to use is actually something that will kind of simplify things, I believe. It's called the Volume Builder tool. So let's start with that and let's see how it works. I'm going to model like a screw, I guess. So I'm going to try to think about, again, start with the primitives and think about how I might approach this. The top part of the screw is maybe kind of a curved sphere, but then it's like chopped off. So in the past, maybe what I would have done is use a bool and maybe done a subtraction of these. I could put it in a bool, but I'm going to show you how I could do it using the volume builder. And the workflow is like a little bit, to me, a little, it can be a little bit faster, although it's a little bit complicated or tricky to get the hang of it. So first of all, I just dragged and put some stuff in here. You saw that it got all like pixelated. Basically, this imaging is related to the voxel size. Just like a pixel is sort of like the basic unit for a 2D image, a picture. A voxel is sort of the basic unit for a 3D form. So as I make that smaller, and I wouldn't go super small. I wouldn't go into decimals here. I think around 2 or 1 maybe, depending on your machine, is going to be okay. What I can do now is click in the volume builder, and it should give me this menu down here if I'm in the object tab. It's going to let me basically change, do some of these bools, these Boolean operations within it. So I can just say subtract and do that and just keep running. And so this is going to streamline that kind of combining pieces together. Let's do like the cylinder part of the screw, the long part. So we'll grab a cylinder, maybe make it skinnier. Yeah, maybe we'll make the radius 20. Or maybe it looks a little bit small, 25. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll bring it in here just so it's here and all within one unit. Okay. The next thing I might want to do is maybe cut. Let's say I want kind of a flathead screwdriver to be used with the screw. So I'm going to make a little rectangle and use this to kind of, or a rectangular three-dimensional rectangle is what I'm trying to say. Take this and drag it into the volume builder, and then we'll just click in the volume builder and say subtract. It might be helpful for me to label these, so maybe this is the head of the screw, long screw. I don't know, flathead or something, just so I don't get super lost. Okay, so I've got that going. Maybe the next piece I want to do is the sort of screw part, or the helix kind of grooves in the screw. I can do that with a helix spline. Right now it's going sideways. I want it to go vertically, so just change that. The start radius, maybe it's 25, and maybe the end radius is 25, so that's kind of how thick it is. I'm going to move it down a little bit. You can see it spins, but it doesn't spin that much. I want to actually up this angle so that it spins a lot, and hopefully you can see that. It looks like I might need to go a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to do a SweepNURB. I'm going to take maybe a triangle, so I'll go down to 3 sides. Whoops. You can see what that looks like. I'm going to scale it down quite a bit and pull a SweepNURB. Take these two and drag them underneath. I think that triangle is still too big, so I'm just scaling it down. So it looks like I kind of have those grooves there. All right, so I think I've done most of the modeling for this right now, and now I'm going to do some refinements and get into the tool a little bit more. Again, I do want to bring this down inside the volume builder, and let me see what else is happening here. I'm seeing some pieces coming out. This looks like the sphere got a little bit too big, and it was popping out. That's what that piece was. All right, so a few things to notice, I think, is if I go, right now it looks like I have something, but if I go to try to preview it, Command R, it's actually going to be empty. So I've built this volume, but I actually need to create a mesh out of it, create some dimensionality out of it. So it's kind of a two-step process. If I could find the tool, here it is. There's something called volume mesher, and basically the volume builder needs to sit inside of the volume mesher. You can see it. It's giving me a slightly different preview, and I can see some pieces are a little bit off. Maybe I went too small. So within each of these, there's some settings to like play with to kind of get the volume that you need. Again, maybe I need a slightly bigger or slightly smaller. I think that on this screw part, I made the triangle a little bit too small. That could be it. You know, you could be needing more pieces. I might be able to subdivide that a little bit. So it's a little rough, and one of the things that is nice with the volume builder is that you can bring in some smoothing. So I'm going to bring in a smooth layer, and you can see that that sits on top of all these things, and anything that's below it will be affected by it. So if I brought it below this piece, you'll see that doesn't affect it anymore. Let me put it back up because I do want it to work. I just think it's a little bit too much. So we can use it in this way. Again, maybe this, I think that, oops, too much. But yeah, I think maybe that triangle was a little bit too small. It was kind of losing its fidelity. There we go, like that's too small. And again, go into the volume builder, maybe it's too much, or maybe we want that smoothing not to apply to the screw part of it. Yeah, so we can use this, you know, if I want this to be even smoother, again, the geometry makes a difference. I can go into the sphere and add more sections, and that should clean it up a little bit. All right, so this is looking like a screw. I could smooth it out some more, but actually maybe I want it to show, maybe I want kind of a weathered look to it, like something that's been in use, it's rusty, maybe it got rained on, or maybe it was found in the ocean. So some other things we could do in the volume builder, there are, inside of smooth, if you hold down click, you could see dilate and erode. So these things will let us add a little bit more. See how it got bigger? That's dilation, or sorry, yeah, that's dilation. And then if you put a negative value in here, like -1, it's going to erode it. Let me put a bigger number just so you see. It's kind of making it smaller. So this could be like something that got washed away. Again, you can play with the strength of this to get maybe something a little bit stronger. Within this, you know, you can move pieces around, you can turn them off if you want to preview them. You can also make folders to kind of separate some of these effects from each other. You can make, you know, folders in here and then drag them around. So this will manage that kind of stuff. You won't see all that complexity inside of here, but you can manage that inside the volume builder. So again, maybe I'm looking for a little bit more texture and kind of depth in here. So one last thing I'll do is show another deform in here that can add texture in here, we'll use something called displacer. And again, the deformers will work either as children of these different elements. So let's say I only wanted this to affect that. I could drag into here. Let me do it there first and just kind of show you what I could do. What I'm going to do is you have the strength here. You also have this tab for shading. What you can do is load in a shader, and there's some presets here. I'm going to use noise. Noise is pretty powerful. So it should be affecting this. What it's going to do is use the gray values to offset this. So you can see right now it's kind of like a big blurry noise piece. If I add more contrast, I think you should start to see. I'm just working on this flat head, which is this part right here. Let me put this underneath the head. I think you'll see that a little bit more clearly. So yeah, you can see it's taking this pattern and using the dark and light values to kind of displace this. So that is too much. Within the shaders, you can go in like, yeah, I was really cranking the contrast just so you could see a few things that you could do. Again, you can change the power on this, but you could make the scale really small if you wanted to look at that. And then, like I said, contrast, if you turn down the contrast, it should start to be a little bit smoother. Brightness as well. I'm going to take this out, and let's say I want this to work on the entire screw. What I want to do is actually put it above the volume builder inside the volume mesher. And now you can see it's got more geometry to work on, so you can kind of see this. Like this might look like a screw that's been underwater for like years, and it's eroding away. Within the noise, the shader, you can select different types of noise. So that's regular noise, but there's other pieces in here. I'm going to bump up the texture or the scale so you can see. You get a little preview up in here what that looks like, but you can move around and see. So I mean, you could do this to really give some shape and form. Like again, maybe that's too much. You can probably pull down the contrast a little bit and get this kind of eroded look. And you might want to go back and forth, and maybe you're also going in and maybe you need to smooth things out a little bit too. But anyways, that gives you an idea of how you can use the volume builder, the volume mesher, and then again, you can bring in deformers that we've used before and layer them on top of this. But this way of working is maybe a little more streamlined than having to make a bunch of bools and groups and things and to get it to work out the way you want it to.